God is dead. Woodman resumed his pursuit of the mad inquisitors. It seemed the only thing to do. After several hours, he came to a bog, so big there seemed no way around it. It stretched for tens of miles in every direction. He wandered up and down its edge for some time, perplexed about how to proceed. He was certain the Inquisition had somehow managed to traverse the bog since its trail came to an end here. He sat down in despair. Then the miracle happened. Out of nowhere, a path over the bog appeared, consisting of yellow-painted wooden slats, each about 3 feet long and a foot wide, placed side by side on the squelchy surface of the marsh. The path stretched as far as the eye could see, the yellow wood road. It was impossible to imagine a more precarious path. In normal circumstances, no one in his right mind would have embarked on this particular journey. But these were no ordinary times. Woodman set out. Walking over the wooden slats was a perilous enterprise. Each slat sank ominously below the surface of the bog as soon as it was stepped on. Woodman was sure that if he overstayed his welcome on any particular slat, it, and he with it, would disappear without trace into the depths of the bog. He had to move rapidly. Every step produced a squelching, slopping sound. Slime and ooze splattered over the wood. The rancid marsh odor forced him to hold his hand over his nose. Woodman felt queasy. It was with great relief that he eventually found himself approaching an astonishing village on stilts. The stilts supported a platform upon which many intriguing buildings could be discerned. The impressive feat of engineering allowed the settlement to sit a full 10 feet above the surface of the bog. Small boats were maneuvering between the stilts. Their owners carried lanterns to allow them to see where they were going in the perpetually gloomy world beneath the suspended village. If it had not been for this artificial light, Woodman would certainly have lost his way and fallen into the bog. As it was, he could barely see more than a few steps in front of him. After a few minutes, one of the boats approached him. The boatman had an impertinent face and very little hair. "Who goes there?" he asked gruffly. "A humble traveler," replied Woodman. "What business do you have here?" "I'm looking for the Inquisition." "Well, you won't find it here. It left a good 12 hours ago." "As long ago as that? I thought I was catching up." "Obviously not. Now, humble traveler, can you give me any good reason why I shouldn't rob and kill you?" On hearing that, Woodman panicked, overbalanced, and fell into the bog. He couldn't swim. He sank, and he was powerless to prevent it. He was certain he was going to drown. His mind was full of regrets. Too many questions had gone unanswered. He hadn't made any progress at all. He was about to die, and nothing at all had made sense to him. What a life! It took him some moments to comprehend that something remarkable was happening. Far from drowning, he was breathing freely. Some way, somehow, he was not dying. He opened his eyes wide and he could see perfectly. The murk of the bog had given way to a tremendous glow. Down and down he went. Brighter and brighter became the hidden world of the marshy depths. He was soon confronted by the spectacle of transparent water nymphs swimming past him. Their hair contained thousands of flecks of gold. Their pubic hair was silver, their nipples equally argentine. "Go down, ever downwards," they cried with ethereal voices. He couldn't do otherwise. He just kept sinking. His descent went on for hours, or so it seemed. He passed submarine forests full of trees made from the noble gases. They were floating like balloons in the air. He passed witches holding an underwater coven. He passed floating philosophers locked in abstruse thought. He passed alchemists in their laboratories, concocting all manner of potions. He passed 1,000 watery wonders. At last, it seemed he was about to reach the bottom of the miraculous bog, a bottom made of pure amethyst. It sparkled and glinted and extended as far as the eye could see. But the bottom of anything is an illusion. Even superficiality is a concealed abyss. Woodman fell through the bottom and emerged at the top of something else. But still he kept falling. Now he was plummeting in a bright blue sky, dotted with gorgeous, fluffy white clouds. For the first time in days, he could see the sun as it was meant to be. It dazzled. It warmed the heart. He had always taken it so much for granted. Never again. Woodman rapidly fell towards something extraordinary, floating through the perfect sky without a care in the world. It was a vast cathedral of solid gold, designed in the most flamboyant Gothic style, as if a symphony by a mad composer had been cast in 24 carats. Oh my God, was this heaven itself? Woodman found himself slowing down and being irresistibly drawn towards the golden gates of the cathedral. Just as he thought he was about to be hurled against them, the great gates swung open. A blinding light greeted Woodman as he landed on the solid gold floor of the cathedral. It took a moment or two for him to see properly. He found himself staring at a glass coffin containing an indescribably beautiful golden figure. The image seized his vision and refused ever to let go. It absorbed consciousness. It denied the possibility of ugliness. Who knows how long Woodman stared at it? It might have been forever, but even forever is not what it claims to be. At last, Woodman averted his gaze from the figure to the gold writing on a marble plaque at the foot of the coffin. "Here lies God," said the inscription, "surely the most fateful in the history of the universe. Slain at the hands of a perfidious assassin, we shall treasure his memory forever. Requiescat in pace." So it was true. The Inquisition had not gone mad. God was indeed dead. No wonder the old world was fading. If anything, it was surprising that the upheavals had not been more dramatic. How is the universe supposed to move when the prime mover is dead? How can the cosmos breathe when it has dead lungs, when it is a dead heart that beats at its center, when the controlling mind of existence has gone? Woodman had been too shocked, too wrapped in his own thoughts to realize he was not alone, not by a long way. He was in the presence of a huge, milling, murmuring crowd of what could only be described as angels. The ineffable creatures were made of crystals of diamond. They had beautiful wings of the finest diamond leaf which threw out ever-changing patterns of brilliant colors. Their crystalline faces were so finely sculpted that all of Earth's greatest artists put together could not have contrived anything remotely approximating these godlike faces. They had eyes of the rarest sapphire, lips of impossible ruby. Their hearts were made from fire and could be clearly seen through their transparent crystal flesh. Their heart flames alternately roared and rested at a perfect rate of 60 times per minute. Tears of liquid silver were streaming down their cheeks. Well, who would not weep at the funeral of God? The angels were shuffling past the coffin of the Creator in solemn procession. One or two of them fondly patted the glass as they passed by. The sadness of silver stained the golden floor. The coffin was guarded by 2 cherubim at the foot of the coffin and 2 seraphim at the head. The cherubim were the second highest order of angels. The head of each was adorned with 4 faces. One face was that of a lion, another that of a man, one that of an eagle, and the final one, the face of a cherub. They were made of highly burnished brass and had 4 wings. They carried flaming swords to turn away the unworthy. The seraphim, the highest order of angels, had 6 wings and were made of pure light. Holographic images flickered over their miraculous flesh. To look at these creatures was to look at dreams dreaming. The ritual prayers for the dear departed were offered up by the 7 archangels, Uriel, Raquel, Saquel, Rerniel, Raphael, Gabriel, and their leader, Michael. Michael, commander of God's army and most beloved of all the angels, had taken his leader's death particularly badly. He felt he should have done more to protect him. His face was stricken with guilt. "Who has done this frightful deed?" cried Woodman. "It was yonder fiend," Michael wailed, pointing an accusing finger towards the opposite end of the cathedral, which was a good mile away. There was nothing for it but to walk that last mile of existence. At the end of that mile, Woodman would perhaps find the answers to existence. Walking across a gold floor is extraordinary. It is doubly extraordinary when light is falling on the floor from the most breathtaking stained glass windows in creation. The windows of heaven are magic windows. Light streams through them from the outside, but when one tries to look out through them, It is not the outside world one sees, but the inner world, the spiritual dimension, the interior world of the soul. There are 4 main stained glass windows, one on each of the 4 walls of the cathedral. The design on the first of the windows pictures the soul of life. When one looks out of this window, one sees the whole universe at once. Every galaxy, every star, every planet, every object on every planet, every thought in every mind, every wish in every heart. The outside has turned inside. One is no longer created. One is the creator. The second window shows the instruments which play the music of the spheres, the transcendent melodies to which the whole universe dances. This picture descends. It ascends. It transcends. It goes through. It goes forwards and it goes backwards. When one looks through it, one sees the eternal flux of energy, the universal restlessness. To go on, to always go on, to never stop, to dance forever. The third window shows the spirit of life, the breath of existence. When one looks through this window, one sees the past, the present, and the future all at once, frozen in a single miraculous snapshot. You feel as if you could take it all in your hand, all of history, and crush it into nothingness, wiping out everything that has ever happened. The fourth window shows the vine that never withers, the grape that alters consciousness. Through this window, one sees the dream of eternity, all the dreams that have been, are, and will be. Now the universe itself is but one immense dream. There is no awaking. This dream destroys those who see it too vividly. That is why it must be hidden behind 1,000,000 veils. The imagination is the door. It stands between death and dreaming. When Woodman had finished looking through the windows, he felt dizzy. He had to meet the assassin of God. He had to know why. Who would slay God? For what reason? And how did he manage such an impossible feat? Woodman strode across the golden floor to the other end of the cathedral. When he arrived there, he found himself between 2 trees of solid gold, each 50 feet high. Glinting golden leaves fell from their gleaming branches. These were the first trees, the oldest trees, the trees of the fabled Golden Age. The tree on the left was the tree of knowledge, while that on the right was the tree of life. The universe contained other trees of knowledge and life, but these were the originals from which all the others were seeded. Woodman wondered where the assassin was. Where was the monster hiding? How could he live with himself? Snow began to fall inside the cathedral, but it fell only at this end of the building. The trees, shimmering amongst the virgin snow, looked more beauteous than beauty itself.